Just a Few More Minutes podcast, where three veterans of the animation and video game industry talk about exactly that, animation and video games. I am one of your hosts. I am Jeff Gabor. I am an animator at Blue Sky Studios.
He's a supervisor. I'm an animator. I'm Michael.
I'm Pete. I am contract animator of various things and just whatnot.
Oh, great. That'll be easy to look you guys up now. Just Michael and Pete, animators.
God.
It's on. If they're watching the thing, it says our name everywhere else. I don't need to say it out loud.
Look, that was my face on Twitch.
Bad
commercials.
Bad
commercials.
Yeah.
We have a special episode. We have two guests alongside us. We have Mindy Berardini.
This is really professional so far.
Yeah.
And we have Deborah Stone.
You just go by Deb.
Debbie.
Yeah, just Deb.
Debbie Stone.
Just Deb.
Debbie.
Yep.
Debbie.
They're joining. They're joining the podcast tonight because they're going to give us some insight on recruiting for the animation industry. Both of them work in the field of recruiting.
Kazoo, zoo, zoo.
Before we start with that, we wanted to go ahead and give a plug to something that's very important in the next month for certainly the three of us, Michael, myself, and Pete. So, Extra Life Marathon is coming up at the end of October for Pete, and the first weekend of November for Michael and I.
Yeah!
So that's a charity event where we play video games for 24 hours straight and raise money for the Children's Hospital Children's Miracle Network. So we'll be doing that. We're going to be raising money. You'll see that on our Twitter accounts, our Facebook pages, whatnot, and we're going to try to raise as much money as possible. In years past, we're usually averaging somewhere around $10,000.
Didn't we make $12,000 last year?
That was 2 years ago. Last year we kind of boned it up.
That was a big year.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
You guys really sucked last year. Come on, think of those sick kids, right?
Yeah, we need some more help. It's depressing when it goes down.
We have help this year. We have a new addition to the roster.
We do?
Mr. Matt Simmons. He's going to play Tetris for 24 straight hours.
Yes, Matt Simmons.
Seriously?
That's right. On One Life.
That sounds really boring.
One life. One life.
He is going to go mad. He is going to go mad doing that.
I was telling him he needs to sleep over after he finishes, because if he drives home, his vision is just going to be like slanting down, like when you watch movie credits.
24 hours of Tetris.
He's already got the game he's going to play for 24 hours. He's already has it started. He's trying to. He's going to start over.
Yeah, he died.
Oh, did he?
He did.
Oh no, he didn't tell me that. Wow, now the pressure's really on.
But we're also going to try to get him an early advanced copy of Tetris Effect on the PS4 and in the PSVR version. I'm going to pull some strings. I got so many strings that need pulling, Jeff.
So I think ours is on November 3rd, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, November 3rd is the actual game day. Since I'm going to be out of town that weekend, these fellas are going to be actually running the show on the 3rd. I'm going to be streaming the event on the 27th. It's a week before, but it'll be fun regardless. So
it's going to be great.
Great.
And pay attention to Twitter if you're interested in watching, because we'll be posting stuff soon about that.
We'll have one more episode out before Michael and I finish up, so we'll plug our stream one more time. It all goes into the same pot for our team. So we go under NES Quest on Extra Life.
Are you guys competing against each other this year again? You had a bet last year?
Last year we always did, but I don't know if...
I feel like, because last year we had competing streams. This year, I think we should just play together the whole time. On one stream.
On one stream, but do you want to
compete
raising money?
I think we should still have separate.
Okay.
Oh, so there's going to be a bet, right?
Well, that's traditionally they're...
I don't want to do more follow-up.
I mean, you destroyed me last year.
I'm getting older.
It was not close.
That was the first time you ever had to do the jalapeno thing.
Oh, you mean I destroyed you emotionally?
You destroyed me monetarily.
Okay, I was purely talking about my asshole.
Oh. It was uncomfortable, but no, I didn't have the flaming asshole like you did.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Maybe one of your fans can suggest terms for the bet. Yeah. Right. For whoever loses or wins.
I'm alright with that.
Yeah, I'm down.
Just be nice to the buttholes.
Yeah.
Wait, what are you doing the weekend that we're doing it? You're out of town, or what are you doing?
I'll be going to visit Blizzard.
Oh, okay. So we'll know how much you've raised. Blizzard. But you always destroy the two of us. You're never even in a slight threat of losing this bet. So
it's been going down over the past 6 years, or this will be the 6th year. So it's been going down steadily. I think last year was a weird peak because of a huge donation by one of our buddies. But was that ever confirmed?
No, that was 2 years ago, man. That was already 2 years ago.
Okay, 2 years ago.
Yeah, and that was confirmed, yes.
No, I thought I got a pretty big, substantial...
Well, 2 years ago, we each got a $1,000 donation by an individual.
I remember.
Yeah, that was huge.
So that was $3,000 to the pot by one person, which was crazy. All right, so enough of Extra Life. We'll talk about it again later. Before we jump into the recruiting stuff, let's any animation or video game news that we want to quickly plug, talk about.
I platinum Spider-Man.
You enjoyed it?
You platinum Spider-Man?
It was fun. It was good. It's not great. It's not going to make my top 6.
I finished up The Messenger, which is this retro 8-bit, 16-bit game. I feel like it's way overhyped, but that was good.
I feel like we both
not great
are down on the big popular games right now.
I know.
Everyone's shitting for Spider-Man and Messenger.
I know. Slightly disappointed.
What are they liking about it?
I mean, apparently Spider-Man is just how immersive and open world, and it just people can't stop talking about, like, even the photo mode is everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, photo mode is awesome and everything now, because it's a good way to show off a game. But all the reviews and everything, like, it makes you feel like Spider-Man. It's like, well, yeah, it's a Spider-Man game. It should. What else do you got? Swinging is great, though. And you really feel like Spider-Man.
There it is.
I haven't really played anything this month. I've kind of doubled down on the whole learning how to make a NES game run on the hardware.
Oh yeah.
With my brother.
Yeah, so that's starting up this month as well. There's a huge competition.
Yeah, it's their first competition. Make a NES game in 1 month, and my brother and I decided to jump on that, and it's been an interesting. The software is great. It's pretty amazing what it does, but there's a lot of bugs. It's kind of very early in its progress, and but just learning about how it was done, how it was done back then, doing it ourselves is like really fulfilling. And we have a kind of a little mock-up game that we're messing with just to learn about, just to kind of teach ourselves the software. And we're probably gonna finish that one once the competition's over, because that one's fun. And some bad news is that I got some bad news yesterday that I might need a second surgery on my arm.
Oh, Petrie.
Yeah. So, because I noticed a couple weeks ago that the tingling that I originally, like, not the tingling, but the numbness in my fingers is now starting to spread down my hand and down into my arm. So I don't know what's going on, but I went to the doctors yesterday and they were like, "Yeah, you gotta chill out with the hours on the desk, and if we're gonna send you through another round of nerve tests, and if that doesn't go through, we might need to go back in and do some more cleanup." So,
well, it can't be helping that you're working like 17 hours a day.
Yeah, so I did something about that. I kind of told one of my contracts that I couldn't animate anymore. So just because it was just too many hours behind the desk. Mm-hmm. So they're like, "Hey, can you do storyboards?" Shit, yeah, I can, because that's not my drawing hand. So now I'm just doing some storyboards for them instead of.
Right, because it's your keyboard hand that's all messed up, right?
Yeah.
Well, at least you're still getting that work.
Yeah, it's been great.
Sounds like a cautionary tale. Animation, it'll mess you up.
Sure, my back is messed up, I think, from the animation industry.
I should listen, but I'm not gonna. I'm still young.
You're a standy boy now.
Oh yeah, I did get a standing desk at work.
There you go.
Stand all the time now.
Make sure to keep your abs tight. It'll help your back.
Do my boy kegels.
Just your abs, not kegels.
Just gotta work it all the way up the bottom.
All right, so moving out of the video games and animation talk, I feel like we got that covered. Let's jump right into the meat and potatoes of recruiting.
Cool. I was just about to fall asleep.
Thank you.
I mean, it was thrilling when you guys were talking about it. I'm sorry, Pete, about your arm.
We love all animation types.
Yes.
All right, so you guys work for a big name feature film studio, and you
Sure.
recruit. So, but you recruit for more than just the discipline of animation. Let's first just talk about, like, you guys work for the same studio, so how do you separate who recruits for what? Like, which discipline? So we have animation, we have design work, we have rigging, lighting, fur, materials, all that. So who does what?
Well, I guess I kind of control that, I guess, in a way.
Deb's my boss.
Since I'm the boss. But my theory on it is that if we all are strong in recruiting for all disciplines, so we can all cover each other at any point, should we be sick, on maternity leave, out on leave, whatever it is, that there's always someone who can cover for someone else. But also, like, giving people a chance to kind of grow, too, because there's so many different disciplines to know and things to know about each discipline that it's nice to kind of be able to switch in between things. And also when one department may be slow or not recruiting for something because we just don't have the opening, then, there's other openings. So,
I like that because I am not just recruiting for one or two departments. I am specifically focused on a handful of departments, but I know how to recruit for all of them. So it's nice because if I'm searching for materials artists and then I run across CareSim people, I can know, like, oh, this person might be good for CareSim. I'll send them along, make sure that they're being viewed. So we all can kind of cover each other's backs a little bit in that regard.
Right.
yeah.
Plus, it just keeps it more interesting, and I'd rather be a well-rounded recruiter versus just focused on animation.
Some studios split it where, they just have artistic artistic recruiters versus technical recruiters versus, artistic technical recruiters. So, first and foremost, our team was so small to begin with that we started out that way, but as we've even grown a bit, even just still keeping that fluid, I think is important for all of us.
So then, starting with the basics of what most of, I think, the people that listen to our podcast are more animation centric. What do you look for? Because the reels don't go straight to animation supervisors or the animation team. They tend to start with you. So what do you look for when you're looking at animators, and how do you recruit them? I would assume that the majority of your recruiting has to do with demo reels.
And you're speaking specifically about animators, not any other discipline.
Yeah, this time, for this
Okay.
question, just animators.
Just clarifying that.
For animators, I think we're just looking for really exceptional reels that have good mechanics and all the basics of animation, but also interesting acting choices. But there is a certain bar where it hits us, and maybe we'll think, I'm not sure that the animation supervisors are going to like this, but I'm going to show them anyway so they can see this person's reel and they can make a judgment call on it. But also a lot of it is, we're not just sitting there and people are sending their reels to us. We're having to go out onto the internet, into the vast void, and find people's reels. So we're digging through Vimeo or any other 11-second club and finding animators out there that we can show the animation supervisors for reel reviews.
Yeah. I think it's important for us to not make judgment calls at a certain point. Like, there is a certain level at which we can say, like, this is definitely not something that the animation supervisors will want to see. And then once it kind of gets past that point, which is why, when we're in a review, we potentially, like, weekly have, 15 reels to review. And, it ends up that you guys only choose, like, 2 people to actually move forward into an interview after that. That's because we know that probably you're not going to like it, but we're going to show it to you anyway because we don't want it to be our decision that that person didn't get shown.
Yeah, it's definitely changed since I've been here because originally, I think we only had one recruiter when I first started, and then that person would almost always just show us everything. Like, if we got a demo reel in, we were going to see it. So that generally started, instead of having the recruiters be the gateway of, like, slightly filtering it, it would first go to just animators. Like, not supervisors or leads or anything. It would just be animators that wanted to go into reel review. Then those reels would get passed on to the supervisors. So mainly meant that a lot of, like, really, really poor reels were getting into our eyes at the beginning. So Pete, that's where Pete came in.
I'm not proud of this.
It stopped.
Actually, there was a point in time where I would actually get all the reels directly from HR, and it would come to me first, and I would kind of go through it and screen it, and then we had reel reviews after that of, like, everybody together. So I started creating a box that had some of the most bizarre stuff I could find, like, and you'd be amazed at what people put on there.
I like that you just said you had a box of it because that meant that you were looking at it back when there was actually, like, VHS and, like, DVDs.
Yeah. and so, like, I had this box that I called the box of shame.
Oh.
And it consisted of the God forgive me, the poor animation, the poorest of the animations I found, which was really bad form, but because I've kind of mellowed out over the years, and I've seen how much of a dick I was back then. But and then we'd have screenings once a week? Was it once a week?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's so messed up, but it was kind of funny.
Yeah. I mean, some of the bad reels are just so bad,
because it's
unfortunately, that, like...
These ones weren't, like, bad as in, like, the person's just not good enough. It was, like, they were, like, the ones where it was, like... It became
ideas.
nearly jokish how poor they were. Like, it was, like...
Or, like, one time, like, something that did make the box of shame was a flash animation of Jesus jumping down off the cross and fighting off the Roman soldiers with his stigmata. And that was so ridiculous that I threw it in the box of shame, because why on God's green earth would you do something like that? Submit something like that to a company that you're trying to get a job at? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it was more the box of macabre would be a better name.
Sticks out for not good animation qualities.
So let's shotgun through the the various disciplines. What do you look for for rigging?
Good rigs.
I'm just straight out good rigs.
Really good rigs.
At least in feature animation, we're definitely looking for facial rigging, and the artistic. Help me here. I'm so tired.
Calisthenics.
Yeah. Knowing that they can actually, like, pose the face out and get good facial
like
shapes.
The appeal?
And have appeal in their rigs. So I think for the most important thing that someone who really wants to get into rigging is to start with an appealing rig and an appealing design, because that'll help
And that's not something they have to do themselves. They can partner with somebody in their class or even ask to borrow a really appealing model to do the rig for. We don't expect our riggers to be modelers. That's a bonus, but not necessary.
How do you balance then recruiting the riggers that are technical based, like script based, and like there's like in my experience, you have some riggers that are very much the appealing design, like the facial stuff, making things like look really nice, but then there's the people that are like the mad geniuses under the hood that are like making things function. How do you recruit for that?
I think those people are already established in studios or small studios and making tools for pipelines. So you're looking more at their resume that they're doing, and then in their demo reel, they're showing off tools that they're doing. And honestly, I don't understand those tools, but there are things where I'm like, I definitely think this is something that the team should look at, and I'd rather have them take a look at it, see if this seems like something they're interested in, versus like us passing on it because we just don't understand the really technical rigs. But you can tell when somebody's doing something interesting, I think, for a pipeline, and the way that they're talking about it in their resume or on their LinkedIn page. There's little clues you can kind of pick up on.
Yeah, or they just then fall under just being under like just the TD side of things and becoming a production technology TD, that's what we call it at the studio we work at. And so then they become just like even on further side of it where they're just more technical. So usually, at least if we're recruiting for a rigger, like we really 90% of the time are looking for an artistic rigger that's going to hit quota and actually create the rigs. So, but then sometimes you'll see someone that has the artistic skill set and then they also have the technical skill set also. And obviously then that just gives them like a little bit of an added on bonus of having
those
both.
are unicorns.
Yeah. Yes. We recruit a lot of unicorns.
You're pretty good.
Magical recruiters.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
No.
I'll answer, not Mindy.
Yeah.
She doesn't want any questions from me.
Sounds like a deal.
Mm-hmm.
So you say that earlier, Mindy said that you guys actually go in search of people as well as review people's work that's got sent to you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there kind of like, do you do more of one than the other, or is it
Yes.
like how like is it pretty?
I think
is it pretty much the same? And
it depends on how long we've been recruiting for the role. So if it's just opened, then we may have a pile of people that have, in the last few months had sent us emails, and we kind of save those and kind of store them in, okay, you're an animator, you're a lighter, whatever it is, and we don't have a job open right now, but we'll keep you in mind for the future kind of thing. So when a job first opens and we start to recruit for it, like that's our first thing that we do is like, okay, let's go look at the database of people and names that we have already. But as we get further along and let's say they open up 10 lighting positions, so maybe you hired 2 or 3 out of that first batch, and then you go through who's applied online, and then you get to the point where, okay, everyone you had in your back packet is you've gone
used
through
up
them.
all your cards.
So then is when you kind of start getting out there, and it so depends on the discipline and the timing of it all, how much we're out there on the internet. But I'd say 50 to 75% of the time we're probably out on the internet searching for people.
Mm-hmm.
we have our first question.
Oh, we have a real question coming in. I mean, not that you guys
This
aren't asking
is a
real
professional
questions.
podcast.
Yeah.
From Twitch. Mikey, do you want to read it?
Yes. Hi, this is from Superboy7204.
Hey,
Hi,
Superboy.
Superboy 7204.
04.
Boy.
Hashtag.
Hi, my high school daughter plans on majoring in animation. How important is it for her to go to a top animation college to get a solid job?
Well, I'll go with it's an important thing to do.
What's the discipline? Animator?
To go to
Majoring in animation. So I
Well,
assume as an
if she
animator.
yeah, because majoring in animation is one thing, and then being actually an animator is another thing. So I think to get a well-rounded education, yes, it's important to go to one of at least the top schools that have established animation programs, unless your daughter is so focused and so able to work on her own and basically teach herself. Because the top animation schools have professors and connections and have the courses that are settled into what actually makes a good artist. Where some of the other schools, the smaller schools, she may get some sort of foundational background, and that's great, but really they don't focus them on like specifically getting to feature animation. I think that's also the other thing is like there's so many facets to animation, like game animation, TV animation, feature animation. And so it also depends on where does your daughter want to get into if she already knows that, because that is another thing that will be a focus for her at some point, trying to figure out, because there's a big difference in a reel you would provide or a portfolio you would provide for a feature studio versus a TV versus a game studio.
I'd say if she wants to get into feature animation, then she should focus on animation, be that in college or maybe even go to college and then take a online course afterwards, kind of like what Michael did, just to like perfect her skills. I mean, we were going through all of the animators we hired this year, and so many of them have gone to a college and then like a 4-year degree, and then after that gotten an online diploma or whatever it's called, from Animation Mentor or Anim Squad or iAnimate.
Can you quickly go through, like, let's just assume this guy's talking about the actual like animation, like character animation.
Like where to send her.
What are the big school names that are like the central 3-4?
Animation's a tough one, specifically the discipline of animation. So all the different schools that we go out to and we recruit from provide us with different disciplines across the board. So like we go to UPenn because it's a technical school, so we're going to technical people. They have an animation program, but it's focused on all the technical side of things. And then you have Ringling, who I think right now, as far as a brick and mortar school, Pete.
You went to Ringling, Pete? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I went to Ringling.
Ringling is probably the one that has the most amount of, specifically the discipline of animation, graduating and actually landing jobs without having to go to Animation Mentor and get some polish after.
Quick anecdote. Ringling is not a circus school.
Yes, it's Ringling College of Art and Design.
Reason I never applied to that
Because it is based off of Ringling and Barnum Bailey Circus.
Yeah, there's a museum there.
Yeah, well, there's a museum there. It was a big thing then. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember exactly whether or not it started as a clown school or not. But that's just bad. Don't quote me, please. I don't know.
Regardless, today,
really
not
know
a
the
clown
stories.
school.
Oh yeah, it's a really good animation school, but probably the only reason I didn't apply to it because I was like, I'm not going to a circus school to learn animation. I didn't do any research either.
He's wondering SCAD and School of Visual Arts.
Yeah, I mean,
New York City.
SCAD, like those are SCAD, SVA. They're all schools that we're recruiting from. They're not necessarily. I mean, we hired Mitchell out of SVA as an animator. So it all depends on kind of how much focus she's going to have on her own, and how much she's going to lean on her teachers. I think in terms of.
I think the overall arch, whatever to get, or the path I guess to get into feature film, like you can go to a big name school like Ringling or SCAD, right, and spend the 4 years and get that job. But you can equally go to like a community college, learn the tools of Maya and whatnot. You won't really learn the individual, like the 12 principles of animation very well there, but at least you'll know literally just the tools.
I know,
like
but that's the problem.
And then go to an online school. And overall,
but you still need a foundation. I think the at least 90% of the students do better when they actually have an artistic
the
foundation
like
and
figure drawing and
really deep understanding of the arts.
skills.
Yeah, like it's more than just becoming an animator. It's having that artistic background and having a foundation. So I'll continue to rattle off schools that we go to. It's like Academy of Art and San Jose State University and
Cal Arts.
And I went to the
Art Center.
the Art Institute of Colorado, which doesn't even exist anymore. But what I got out of it was interaction with other people that all wanted to get into the same discipline, and that was worth the entire price of admission.
But you were
to
the
that.
unicorn.
Also, yeah, it's worth noting that you were the one staying late every night learning on your own.
And sitting in your basement, like drawing every day by yourself and having that focus.
I'm more making a case to go to an actual college, to go to a place rather than just online. Because I wouldn't have learned that school right out of high school if you went straight to an online school.
Yeah.
I think the kids that go from high school to online are putting themselves at a huge disadvantage, and the likeliness of them being successful and getting into one of the major feature studios is unlikely.
Yeah. You can kind of get drowned in that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have advice for anybody going to like one of those design colleges that maybe don't have the best animation programs, and like how they can stay focused to get into animation?
I mean, I went to a college. I went to Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design, also in Colorado. That is not a good college
animation
at all.
school.
It's not great for animation, and it never was. But I learned my fundamentals, and I also got like my college degree, and I had math classes and English classes that I fucking hated, but I got them and did them, and that's fine. But I also had figure drawing and everything else, and once I graduated, I ended up going to Animation Mentor, like we've been talking about, and I feel like all the fundamentals that I learned, like I majored in 2D animation, so I went into 3D animation knowing all those fundamentals, and I think that's why I was successful in AM.
There's also something to be said about just knowing how to draw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Because I think I can honestly say some of my favorite animators, they all can draw really well. Like some of the most successful animators can all draw really well.
Honestly, I think that skill set applies for more than just animation. You know, I mean, obviously story and design, but you know, effects and even care sim and you know, even lighting. Like some of our lighters are amazing painters, you know, or amazing photographers. So it's all that fundamental art that they're going to get from a major school that I think is a really important thing.
We have another question.
All right.
From Superboy. His daughter is also watching with him. She's named Nina.
Cool. Hey.
Hi, Nina.
Nina or Lena?
Lena.
Lena.
Sorry.
Asking, what programs do most animation companies use?
Maya.
Yeah, Maya's the foundation for an animator, a modeler, rigger.
Well, the best part about Maya is there's a student version you can get for free just by going to Autodesk, and then you can learn it on your own. There's millions and millions of tutorials to get started just to learn basic bouncing ball stuff. So that's what's great about Maya, and it wasn't that way when we started. Like you couldn't just like download the software for free, and so that's what
like the age of I don't know how to do that is pretty much gone.
Yeah.
Like with YouTube, it's just everything's out there. You can find out. There's no secrets anymore.
But just to break it down, Blue Sky Studios uses Maya. Walt Disney feature film, the Tangled and Frozen peeps, they use Maya. Pixar uses their own proprietary software, like that's just they're in their own studio, and so does DreamWorks uses their own software as well. So
Sony probably uses Maya.
It depends which part of Sony.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Games is the same way.
Yeah, games is mostly all Maya. Animal Logic
Maya.
is still way on Softimage, but I think they're switching over to Maya now too.
It's more important that you learn like the mechanics, the fundamentals, the basics of the discipline, because that's what your end result of your final rendered image will show. And then you'll always be able to learn a software. Like if you know one software, you can easily pick up a second software.
Yeah, all the tools are basically the same. I started off using 3D Studio Max and without knowing Maya, accepted a job that used Maya and was able to start day one and work fine.
Yeah, I learned Maya completely in a year and a half before I got a job at Blue Sky, and it took me that long to learn it, and now I use it every day for way too long.
I remember I actually had to downgrade when I went to go work at Irrational Games, they were using Studio Max for BioShock.
Yeah.
So I had to learn 3D Studio Max. But again, it's like if you know one of them, you'll figure out the other one. So, and they make tools to make one feel like the other. I used a plugin that helped 3D Studio Max basically have all the same hotkeys as Maya and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like potato, you know. But
Thank you for
It's
your
a
question,
pretty-
Superboy and Lena.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, good luck, Lena.
Yeah.
Keep studying. Work
Yeah.
hard. Don't sleep.
Sleep a little.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pete. I
No,
interrupted.
but that's basically. I didn't sleep from 18 to 22. I didn't
It's
sleep.
not healthy to not sleep. Have a good bed with a good pillow. Get some sleep.
Don't have
But-
fun. You can sleep, but just don't have fun. Just work hard.
Have fun
No,
working
have fun.
hard on animation because
Yeah.
it is fun.
Well, and also being a good animator or story person is all about life experience. And so it's
Exactly.
important to have that life experience as well to be able to go off
Yeah,
of.
the stories
All right.
you-
So don't listen to Mindy on this one.
The
You can
number
listen to her
one-
most of the
Work hard,
time.
Have fun. Have good life experience and sleep.
Yeah.
You can do it all.
You know,
Yeah, just stay healthy.
live a great
Yeah.
freaking life.
Yeah.
Have a smoothie for breakfast. Mm-hmm. Eat your Oaties.
Odies.
Do you need a hat?
we have another
Wheaties?
question.
Wheaties, yes. No, your
I do
Oaties.
need a hat. Whoa.
We have another question from. This one's from Curved Earth. What can I expect to be able to learn to do with Microsoft Paint?
Oh, curved earth. Microsoft Paint.
Not a lot.
Yeah. Maybe.
Hey, you know, it comes in handy for the NES development.
Yeah, no, you know what? I think it's a good tool for your son to play on for a little while.
Yeah, that's right.
I guess it kind of depends what do you want to get out of the tool.
Yeah.
This is
Like
a
we
serious
said, it's all
podcast.
just a
Curved
tool.
Earth.
Just trolling
Yeah,
us on
Curved Earth.
Okay, so modeling, it's important for us to see both character and environment models as well as when you get into environment models, hard surface and organic models. So trees, plants, rocks, whatever, organic, hard surface, cars,
Mailboxes.
building, mailboxes, whatever it is. But I think in terms of like focusing again on like feature versus TV versus commercial or visual effects, think about the studio you're applying to and the kind of work that we would do. So we'd want to see characters and environments that are stylized in some sort of fun, appealing graphic
We
way.
make kids' movies.
Yeah, like we make kids movies. We don't want to see the photorealistic car or environments that are just
Scary monsters.
Yeah, scary monsters.
I'd like to see that.
The ones with warts on them, and
You're
one tooth and pus coming out of their.
No, that's a good point. It's
nostrils.
you know your audience. Like,
Yeah,
so if
know
you
your
can't
audience.
Work on that stuff, but if you're
Yeah.
sending stuff to Pixar, you probably want to see characters that fit into that world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Movies
into
that they make.
like I feel like any of the feature studios, any sort of stylized work within that feature world vein is important to see. And then just from like a logistical kind of more technical standpoint, we want to be able to see the wireframes, a slow turnaround of your character, so we can really see what you did with the face and how you positioned all of your I'm really tired.
Your models.
Help.
verts.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
talking about
Topology,
Yeah.
thank you.
No, but that is.
I have
slow,
words.
but not painfully
Well, so
slow.
if you were
turnaround.
Yeah,
looking at some modeler's reel, would you prefer to see more polygonal-based, like topology-based models, or do you care if they're showing you models in ZBrush?
So they definitely want to
both.
see them they at least want to be able to see the wireframes. So ZBrush is fine just to show like, hey, look how
skilled I
am and how
sculpture.
fancy I can be with sculpting things. But and think in 3 dimensions. But definitely want to see like at least a couple of examples of
clean topology.
Yes, clean topology where you can actually really see like what people have done with the loops around their faces and mouths and eyes.
Does the modeling...
It's probably also a good idea. Let me just chime in real quick. It's a good idea as well to, if you have a ZBrush model, it's probably a good idea to also show, hey, I can re-topo this model so it looks nice and clean and pretty.
Sure.
You know, so it's the same exact model, and re-topology is its own skill set.
I think if it looks good, re-topologize, like if you do it in ZBrush and then you re-topologize it, then I think you can just show that model because, I mean, if you can do it well after you've done in ZBrush, then you don't need to show the version of it beforehand, I don't think.
Yeah,
What about showing concept
makes
art?
sense.
It's fine to show some concept art again as a modeler
I'm saying,
in
like the concept art that you
And then
based
the
your model.
translation.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Is that's common?
Very common. In fact, we tell people to show that. But the only thing is that find artwork that is not already done in some sort of feature animation film, because then the artist that you're showing it to, you know, if it's a Pixar model or character or Blue Sky model or character, and you're sending your reel with that character on it, those are the people that actually modeled that character, and they will pick that apart even harder than if it was just some other random artwork that you found. So we always recommend for students to, go find what inspires them, whether it's someone in school that did something or someone that they found online. Obviously, you can email that person and she get permission for using that on your reel, but just say, hey, I'm a student. I want to use your design for my models. And then as long as you're giving credit to that person in your reel, so you show the image and make sure that the person has credit of this is the design from, and then show your model off of that. Because again, your job as a modeler is not to design it, it's to actually just do the models. And then I keep having this one thought and then I keep losing it.
It keeps leaving my brain.
Here's another thought.
I'll come up with it again.
And it's probably just ignorance for what they need in modeling, but do you prefer generalists or people that are specifically into modeling characters versus props versus environments?
So at the place that we work, that team likes people that can do characters, environments, and props. Some other studios like people who are more specialists and do just environments or just characters. So I think it's about knowing your audience and then creating a demo reel that's specific for that company.
What's the, when you hire a more junior modeler, do they almost exclusively get delegated to props? Is that what's the order of?
They might actually get some background characters.
Yeah.
Hiring juniors, they want them to be able to do characters as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what our intern did this summer. I know that person did definitely a lot of
Environments and props.
But they may have been given a background character too. Maybe I don't remember.
In the internship did as part of accredited Spies in Disguise thing, but definitely as juniors, they want them to be able to do characters too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, we have a few more questions. Curvy, we'll get to yours after. Superboy has another one, and I think it's very good. I know this was a thing that my parents thought about a lot too. One last question from Dad. Worried about the stereotype of the struggling artist, and my daughter graduating after spending lots of money on college. Will she have a career that she can live off of?
I think it depends on how hard and motivated she is to work. There's so many jobs out there in this industry, not just in feature animation, but in games and commercials. If she's motivated and she works hard, there's always room for really good talent in our industry. And there's just so many niche ways to keep her occupied and things for her to get into. So I think you're imagining her as a painter who's just gonna be on the side of New York City, with her like a tin for her money. But like there's
But
just
this guy drives a Tesla.
But that guy drives a Tesla. This house has 3 floors in it. So many bathrooms.
So the answer is work your ass off, Lena, and you'll get there, and it will absolutely pay off.
Well, and also I always tell students too, like, feature animation is definitely, for a lot of people, it's their goal in life to get into a feature studio, but it's not always a place that someone has to start. Like, there are so many smaller companies and smaller studios, and places where people begin their career right out of school, and with some more experience and a little bit more time to grow their skill level, they eventually get into their whatever their goal is, whether it's a feature studio, it's a major game studio. It's one of those things where that's fine to set their goals there, and some people will get an internship out of school and be hired right away, and then some people will work around a few different places and then eventually land in the place that they wanted to get. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of options.
I would, I have a daughter, so what would worry me more about like my daughter going into animation is not the amount of money that she would or wouldn't make. It's the fact that she will move away. This industry, you don't get to work from home. Like, I don't know where Superboy lives, but if it's anywhere but California, New York, or Vancouver, your daughter's leaving.
Toronto has some studios. Yeah,
Texas
there's not very
does.
many. And then the odds are it's also, for the most part, like, we're lucky that we don't have this, but it's a vagabond lifestyle. You tend to hop around. So you'll be in Vancouver for 6 months, then you'll be in California for a few months, then you'll be in New York for a few months, then you'll be in London for a few months. Especially if you're a visual effects artist. Visual effects, you can...
Vancouver definitely is a place where, at least for visual effects people, even animation, at least now there's enough studios in Vancouver to keep people in one spot for a little while longer. Some people have been landing there and not wanting to leave there, which is one of the things we've been finding from a recruiting standpoint. Is that people are like, I'm going to stay in Vancouver because I know...
cost of living.
Well, cost of living's crazy up there too, but at least people know, like, they can kind of jump from one studio to the other, even though they'll be jumping from one studio to the other. At least they're staying in one place. But yeah, definitely. I started my career in Los Angeles at another studio, and then it took me 5 years to break into the door of where I am now, because there was only however many jobs there for me specifically in my discipline, what I do. So I had to wait basically until the one person quit their job so I could take it.
That's a recruiter, though.
Yeah.
On the bright side, though, like, this industry, I think, is like, people that you're working with are really passionate about what they're doing. They're making movies or like commercials, and they're being creative. And while it's still a job, like, we're not like filing paperwork and doing horribly boring jobs that we hear other people doing. Like, there's a lot of like satisfaction. Yeah, satisfaction.
Yeah. You got a word.
In this industry and in this job. So I think if you're, thinking about your daughter's future and her career path and, just having happiness in what she does, I think it's definitely worth the risk.
I think this is a good segue just to talk a little bit about Deborah's path.
Just
Debbie's.
call me Deb. Yeah, I don't know where you're getting Deborah
I
from.
say Debbie.
Call her Deborah all the time.
As soon
Where
as
did
I
that came from?
start talking to you in a professional manner, that's when I start calling you Deborah.
So weird. Okay.
All right, Deebs. Here we go. So your path into animation, like, you didn't leave college going straight into animation. What was the catalyst that made you actually attracted to animation, like switching into it?
Well, I guess I kind of random life path to it, but I went to school for communications, television production, really. Realized I didn't really want to be a PA on set, so wanted definitely like an office job. Moved out to LA after graduating from college, and I had somewhat, and when I was interning, kind of found my way into like some management companies, like managing not artists, but artists, but talent, like actor talent. So I ended up landing my first job at a talent agency, a small talent agency, because I had some experience at that point from my internships. And figured that was also a good way to kind of really get a good understanding of just like the entertainment industry. Like I knew I wanted to work in entertainment. I just didn't know like where and how. So after a year or so of that job,
Famous actors.
there were some famous actors. One that left there with a pretty big bang of leaving there. It was a pretty crazy story.
He was banging?
No, he left with a bang. Like,
She was banging.
no, he pissed people off. Anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Ooh, the dirt.
It doesn't matter. But they had some good famous people there. Anyway, whatever. That doesn't matter. That's not part of the story.
Clearly she doesn't want
So,
Did you witness a murder or something? Like,
no, not at all. Like, there's nothing that important to talk about. So anyway, after working with actors and then the managers of the actors, that I was like, I do not want to work with these people. Like, this is not my thing at all. I was trying to figure out my next role, or at least like next step, and my friend from Ithaca got my resume over to a recruiter at Disney. I interviewed for a production. No, I think it was like an assistant to like a publicist or something like that. And I was like, yeah, sure, I could do this job. And the recruiter was like, hey, after she interviewed me, she was like, listen, I really liked you, but like you're way too green for this job. Like they need a little bit more seasoned assistant for this role. So she kept in touch with me and then brought me in for an interview at Disney Animation at the time, which was it was on Meet the Robinsons, and it was for a assistant to the associate producer. And so I had an interview with him, and then a week or so later, I get a phone call from the associate producer, and he calls me. He's like, I don't normally call candidates, but I really liked you, but I wanted to just let you know that I can't hire you because I have to hire my family friend. And I was like, all right. So I wanted to leave the talent agency because I didn't want to be around like that Hollywood thing, and now I just interviewed with this person who's telling me basically it's as Hollywood as it gets. So anyway, so the recruiter, she's for whatever reason liked me, and so she brought me back in. She was like, I think at this job there's an assistant to the manager of recruiting. She's like, I think you'd be a really good fit for this role. So I was like, yeah, you know what, I work right now with actors and artists, and I connect them with jobs, and I can be an assistant in recruiting and connect artists to jobs. That makes sense. So I interviewed at that point with the manager, and we fell in love right away, like love at first sight. And
Platonic love.
yeah, she was a woman. Not that matters, but it was just platonic. Boss to assistant love. Nothing more than that. Anyway, this just got weird.
We made it weird.
I know.
yeah. It's
But anyway, she like basically offered me the job like in her office, like at that moment, like after interviewing. So that happened, and then I started at Disney as an assistant in recruiting, and kind of grew in my role from there, and learned everything I've learned about animation on the job.
Right. But like the culture difference, like is that like when was it that you actually started to like know that you were meant for animation?
It was like right away. Like I feel like I stepped into animation, and within like week one I was like, I found my people. This is much more my speed. These are the people I would love to be around all the time. It was pretty quick feeling that like instant gratification of whatever I felt like I was missing and felt uncomfortable about in the agency world, to moving into animation and feeling like, yep, I connect. I feel connected to these people.
Yep.
That's the other thing for Superboy about your daughter. She's gonna find her people. That's like a very common theme in animation. Like we work with people that are like family because we all just like are so simpatico, and
Yep.
it's like the coolest thing about it.
Feels like you're like cut from the same cloth.
Yeah. Just one note that I like to make to anyone getting into this animation industry is this industry is so small. It is super, super small. And so it's really important to always do as good of a job as you can, and work as hard as you can, and never be a jerk, because that stuff will follow you around, good or bad.
Yep.
For your entire career, because it'll either get you the job, like Pete, I know you talked about, just one job after another for you, like being connections from people you knew, whatever, things like that, or it will hurt you in the other way, where it's like, I worked with that guy, that person's a jerk, or that girl's a jerk, like I wouldn't work with that person.
Yeah,
and then information
industry's small enough
spreads.
that you're naive to think that if you lose one job and you're trying to pick up another job, that those studios aren't going to be like, hey, so-and-so is calling, I know they just worked there, how is so-and-so? Like, that happens all the time. Like, you just want to know their personality, how they are to work with, and we all have friends at each of the different studios that we've all worked with and are really tight with, so it's a phone call away or a Facebook message away from knowing.
And sometimes it's like you were talking about, with everyone bouncing around from studio to studio, you end up getting people in the studio, that weren't here a few months ago, and so then you say to them, hey, like, do you know anyone that we could also hire? And then they're like, yeah, these 5 people, you should go look at these 5 people, so those are the good ways that it could help you and connect you.
Be pleasant to work with your supervisors and your peers.
And people underneath you, because you never know when those people will be your boss.
All directions, be pleasant to work with.
Do we have another question?
We have another question from Curved Earth. Serious one.
Okay.
Also another update. Ray's in the chat, and he's posted the Twitch link on the Animation Mentor Facebook group.
Okay.
Hi, Animation Mentor.
Oh, wow. Hi, Animation Mentor.
Okay. Where did it go? So, okay. Curved Earth asks, how are young boys and girls being encouraged to enter the animation industry, and how does recruitment differ? Well, I also feel like you could take this and morph it into your guys' work with WIA.
Is the question like, how are they being, like, restated again? Because how are boys...
Like how young, like kids in
How
elementary
are young
school?
children being encouraged to enter the animation industry, but I'm changing it to young girls.
Try to connect her.
Yeah, because I don't think you guys necessarily...
Yeah, I mean, we're
reach
so far
out.
removed from that. I mean, granted, there are efforts being made from a lot of industry companies right now who are trying to do more outreach to,
Younger, yeah.
junior high, middle school, whatever it is, even high schools, to get people interested. But, so some of that also goes to the schools that have these programs and them reaching out too. From a recruiter standpoint, just strictly like recruiter only, I don't know as much other than knowing that.
Other than our outreach to like colleges and just how we're hoping to inspire and encourage students even as young as like in their freshman year. And then like at conferences like CTN, mostly it's college level students there, but if like there have been occasional like high school level students that come with their parents, and we're happy, and I'm sure anybody there is happy to talk to them about the industry and how to get in and their portfolio and stuff like that. So
yeah, without making it a political question, what percentage of, this is a guess, obviously you don't know the stat, but the rough percentage of people that you recruit need a visa or don't need a visa? You have a guess?
I don't know. I literally don't know, like without running numbers, of what but right now it seems like a lot.
We're just
consistently
so many temporary positions open that we've had to in the past year get
just for
visas
like
for.
animation wise, like
Animation has been a lot.
Every other person
at least
looking at
30 to 40%.
Yeah. Which is great. Like there's a bunch of animation schools outside of the US that are doing well in producing. An international body of human beings that are doing work with Vancouver and Toronto and Montreal and then London and there's an animation studio in Spain, and so there's a lot of animation's huge in Europe. Huge. Like Germany, obviously there's the conferences out there that we go to every year. So there's a whole world of TV animation, even past like everything that goes on here. in the U.S.
So then what about we?
What about it?
What about it?
It's a great program. It's a great
You
organization.
guys do
Is
more than just recruiting.
Well, first of all, what is WIA
Yeah.
for people that don't?
Sure. WIA is Women in Animation. Their goal is to get the animation industry to 50-50 by 2025. And the organization really started in Los Angeles, and there's a Vancouver chapter, there's a San Francisco chapter, and we, Mindy and myself, are helping to relaunch the New York chapter in the coming months. So it's an organization that wants to, it's not just for women to join. So all people of all genders can be a part of this organization. It's really to encourage and inspire and make people aware of the gender gap that exists at the moment and try to help to get that to a more balanced place.
By like helping mentor young women in either high school or in college or recently graduated, or even like professional women working still need mentorship to, like, we all need mentorship in our middle of our careers too. So especially like women to like be encouraged to stay in the industry and just finding their voice in it too, just finding partners and mentorship. So it's a way to like connect people and also like educate them in different ways too, with like different talks and panels that we'll be having in New York City, hopefully coming up in the next year with the relaunch.
I don't think I've ever like talked about, but I think the biggest problem, or one of the problems, I don't want to say the biggest, but a problem that not having both genders equally represented in animation, it causes, there's a story gap, and there's a whole plethora of stories not being told because of that.
Yeah.
Because there's just different experiences in life, and when you're missing an entire portion of the demographic of moviegoers, then you're going to be missing stories with that, and that sucks.
I have noticed over the last few years, and actually was just talking to a school, one of our top schools, this past week about it, and there is a major surge in women in schools now. So, we're seeing that come through in terms of our hires for our internship program, but also for our junior level hires. And the schools are seeing it now too, that there's almost more women than men in their schools. So hopefully within the next, 5 to 10 years, like we'll actually start to see that transform into a more diverse and balanced workplace.
So the goal is 50-50 by 2020, right?
2025.
2025.
Give us an extra 5 years.
Yeah.
Gee whiz. What do you probably don't know, but what is the percentage right now?
The average percentage is 30-70.
Oh, geez.
That's average.
Got ourselves a boys club, Jeffrey.
Gotta fire some dudes.
Yeah.
You guys don't even have a regular woman on this podcast. Not to shame you at
I
all.
mean, you guys have been on a fair amount.
We're the regular recruiters on this podcast.
Yeah, you're going to have to leave. It'll make it 50-50.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead. Take off. You're done for the night.
See you, boys. Lady's doing just fine.
50-50 by 11 o'clock.
We have some more questions. As an aspiring animator, what's one thing I should avoid? What's one thing I should not avoid? It's obviously open to everyone. You guys can take it real-wise.
Whose question was that?
We don't need to get into it.
Okay. Well,
Guessing it's like specifically in animation what you should avoid, because there's a lot you should avoid in life.
yeah, there's a
As an
lot.
aspiring person.
Like answering a phone interview in a bus. That's something you should avoid doing.
Yeah.
Like if you set up a phone call with, I don't know, ahead of time.
It has happened.
No, I know.
lot.
I joke about that all the time.
People accept calls for major like jobs, and they're like in a car ride with the window down. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
So anyways, that's one thing. But if you're talking about just on a reel,
I would avoid having your worst work on your reel. and only having your very best work on your reel. We tell people this all the time, and it is the worst stuff on your reel that's going to hurt you the worst. And
I mean, the most. Yes.
Yeah, hurt you the most. But I mean, Jeff, you can even speak to this because you were just looking at a reel the other day, and the good stuff was at the very end of the reel, and we were lucky we made it then. But then the 2 good shots at the end of the reel were what made the supervisor go, "Huh, that was actually kind of nice." But it was the worst stuff that stuck out in their minds the most. So
my reaction was, I think the thing when the reel ended, I said, "Well, that was an entirely different animator."
Yeah,
I have no idea how to
exactly.
judge this now.
Yeah. And that goes across disciplines because that makes the animation supervisors or any other supervisors really question your taste level or your judgment, because if you can't make a judgment call on what your best work is too, how are you going to be able to find your best animation shots or your best work in your portfolio? So just make sure you're just putting your best work on your reel, even if it's just 2 shots on your reel. Less is more.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like a lot of young animators think a reel needs to be at least a minute and a half, 2 minutes or something. But I remember when I was in college, there was one reel, when I was still doing 2D, a 3D reel came out of a guy that his reel was just blocking. It might have been splocking or something, but he had just gotten the internship or whatever at Pixar based on just that one shot. And that blew my mind. And so ever since then I've been all right, just keep it as tight as frickin' possible with only your best stuff.
Yeah.
Even if it's super rough, if you're good enough, it'll work. I don't know about now. There's a lot of animators.
Well, and probably,
get it.
especially if you're a student, none of your work should be more than 6 months old on your reel.
Right.
6 months, 6 months is even getting really close to not.
I feel like students are always surprised when I'm looking through their portfolio or their reel, and I'm like, "So, did you do this I don't know, last year, 2 years ago?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Yeah, then that means you should take it off." If I spotted that, then take that off. It's an obvious you've obviously grown, and that's great to see the growth. And that's okay for us as recruiters to see it and kind of give that advice to them, because I feel like sometimes we're almost the first line of protection for these people, of telling them don't do that because I don't want to show it to the animation supervisors or the supervisors in lighting, because I know that once they see it, then that's it. Then you're dead to them forever, kind of thing. forever.
Just that reel review.
Until it's a new reel that's rebuilt.
Right, exactly. So sometimes listening to, especially the recruiter's advice, that they tell you, we're telling you this information for a reason, because we work with these people enough to know pretty much what they'll say at any given time.
And because we're mean.
Yeah,
Just
we're really
kidding.
mean.
You guys are the nice ones. I can tell every time we do reel review that you think we're the meanest people in the world.
Just harsh. That's all.
We are. I remember those real reviews. It was pretty rough.
Yeah.
We just want to get people hired.
Well, the other thing is just also trying to avoid stereotypical acting choices. I know one of Jeff's most hated acting choices, the finger sweep behind the ear.
Here, I'll do
For
it on
the
camera.
female.
It's-
Yeah, there you go.
Put your hair behind your ear.
But
That's
it's okay if you do it with the Jeff
Yeah.
No, I
Sometimes
brushed
you
the
win an Annie
bangs. I
Award for
brushed the
that too.
bangs. And I didn't just do this real quick.
I know.
In walk,
I got
I had
you.
it, and then I held it here with a little thinking beat, and then I let go.
No,
It's different.
I agree.
That's an Annie Award winning
Yeah.
move for
No,
sure.
it was
I didn't
different.
Actually, that was
did
not even nominated award move.
I think something too to avoid is I feel like you could probably get stuck with surrounding yourself as a student with animators that are just gonna be "Oh dude, your work is so awesome," just assuming you're a male because 30, 70.
Chicks talk like that too.
Girls talk like that too. But surround yourself with people that you really trust and who are gonna give you honest feedback, because it's not gonna help you just to have people surrounding you just telling you how awesome you are if you're not actually that awesome.
Yeah.
Or if you are awesome, that's fine.
No, I feel like I grew a lot because of that. We have another animator at Blue Sky named Aaron Humiston. The two of us grew up in college together, and I definitely learned a lot from him. I don't know if he would say the same thing about me, but
He would. He's
but
the nicest guy in the world.
I I don't know if he believes it. How about that? He didn't have a lot to learn from me. He was very talented. But being at school with him made me better because, I could see like, oh, animation has things like squash and stretch. Didn't know that. So it's good. It's good to have friends near you that can keep you humble.
Your school didn't teach you about squash and stretch?
They taught those words.
Oh, great.
But not how to apply them, no. I can say whatever I want about that school now since they don't exist. But yeah, it was rough. But the reason why I made it out of there and was able to get a job was because of the people I surrounded myself with.
Yeah.
Shabazz, Jamie Geiger.
You knew Shabazz?
Shabazz was in my class, yeah.
Shabazz Shah?
Shabazz Shah was in my class. We all went to school at the same time.
Oh, shit. I had classes with him at Animation Mentor.
What a small world.
Crazy, right?
We're all separated by one animator.
Small industry.
So small.
Small industry.
We have another real tip from the animation station on here. He or she says, also if you can, try to include more personal work rather than professional work, not tests, etc., but your own personal projects.
Yeah. Agreed.
What do you like seeing about that?
Well, a lot of times students will put like just things that they did in class, so you're just constantly seeing like the same test over and over again. Yeah.
Posing or walk cycle.
Or walk cycles, and we don't need to see walk cycles on an animation reel. Like, we get that you understand mechanics by seeing you actually doing acting shots. So, and whether or not you get a chance to actually do those acting shots in class, like, that's the most important thing, is 3 to 4 good acting or action type of shots. Like, the rest of it can go away. It's all good that you learned it at some point and like that you went through that process to learn that, but we don't have to see it on your reel.
Agreed.
Walk cycles suck. Let's just throw it out there.
I always said walk cycles will make the most professional animator look bad.
Yeah.
They are the hardest damn thing to do. Which is a difficult thing about games because that's your life is cycles, and then not only that, you're not working with just 24 frames per cycle, you're working with 60, and many times it's like, how the hell do you ever make that look good, Pete?
It is, it's interesting because you are working at 60, but it's interpolated by the engine, so the engine makes it look nice. You don't really have to worry about the in-between subframes or anything like that in a game engine.
Unless you're cheating it somehow.
Or a wizard.
If you cheat, that is the trick. If you cheat somehow, then yeah, you can end up with some issues, but you'd have to be cheating pretty badly.
I mean, my workflow gets screwed if I moved into games.
Yeah.
The other thing is it has to look good from every angle.
Yeah.
Because
again, my workflow would be screwed.
Yeah.
Michael's barely looks good from one angle.
Straight up. Yeah, I'm not very good anymore. Shut up. It's true. We were going through all the departments. Do you wanna
Lighting.
keep going?
Yeah, lighting.
So for lighting, it's kind of the same thing we look for other departments, 3 to 4 really well lit shots. If you're a student, it's sometimes you can just have a static character in an environment that you light. And you can even find lighting reference from a movie or a color key or an artwork that you're matching, because that's exactly what our lighting artists do. They're taking color keys from the lighting or the design department and interpreting those into the environments or the scenes that they're lighting.
Lighting would probably be the one thing where I would have if I went to CTN and someone said, here's my lighting reel, I'd probably be like, I have no idea what the hell to look at. Like, what? Maybe it's easier to describe. What does a bad lighting reel look like?
It's
like
just
no contrast?
Just bad
lighting. Yeah, if you think about like not good values, not good like the
Focus.
lighting isn't like supporting the like mood, like the mood in the environment. Like if the colors are all saturated and there's not like good balance with the colors, so it's just all about like it's a nice painting. So
Right.
you guys are artists, so you'd be able to tell like
When
a
you say
good real
focus,
from
you're saying you're
bad.
not leading the eye, like where is it
Right.
supposed to
Yeah.
look?
Yeah, like just flat color across the board.
Or like really blown out whites too, where you're like losing details in areas. I feel like that's a big thing too, or where it's so dark that you're losing details there. It's about
What kind
like
of comments do you hear in real review?
bad. Just kidding.
Well, like, do they say stuff like, "Oh yeah, the whites are blown out"?
Yeah. When you're sitting with like lighting artists with like students, or even in the real reviews, it'll be like, this is blown out too much, so you're losing detail, or it's too dark here, so you're losing detail over here, or your eyes are looking all over the scene and not exactly where they should be looking. So it's the kind of things you would hear about somebody like critiquing a painting too.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like, it's also all about too, like if there is a character in the shot, like all about like lighting the character's eyes correctly and getting the face lit.
In an appealing way too, so that they're it's hard to tell if they're on model, if it's just like a character they borrowed for something else, but they should still look appealing and look like a character that's in a moment in a story.
Off topic, but the lighting in Spider-Man sometimes great, sometimes just awful.
In the
video
game?
In the game, yeah. Mary Jane, everyone's teeth is like bright as shit, and it doesn't look like there's any shadows on it. And they're like the same. They're like brighter than the eyes are, which automatically
distracting.
draws your eye to the mouth all the time, and then the mouth lip sync isn't great all the time. It was just, I don't know. It really bugged me.
That would translate into our studio as well.
Talking through like every different discipline, there's a through line to all of it, which is
Oh, you want to just stop this? You want to go to bed?
no. I mean, yes, I do want to go to bed. I will continue this conversation, but I think there's a through line across all reels and all disciplines. Is that again, it's knowing your audience and knowing like what that group is looking for. So in effects, like we're looking for good stylized effects, you know, and of course like different types of effects, so fire, water, you know, dust, destruction, things like that. But if someone, the reels that will stand out above the other ones are ones that actually go above and beyond and do some sort of stylized effects. And we don't see that a ton, but those are the ones that sound, especially like the intern we hired this summer. He had, you know, like those are the reels where you look at them and you're like, you come over here and give me a hug.
Did it.
Yeah.
Well, I think what stood out about his reel was, you know, you can just run a simulation in like a black background and that's fine, but he had integrated it into like an action in that like was kind of like a storytelling action. So and then he also broke it down really nicely too to show that he was incorporating a lot of different kinds of effects in this one shot that we saw. So that was interesting because he's not only showing off a lot of different skills, but he's showing off some problem solving and like storytelling skills that he had by just incorporating it all into one shot.
He also polished the reel to the point of like having these nice wipes that went across to show like the effect without materials or with the materials, whatever it was. I forget exactly how the wipes, but he used these wipes in a way where it was like he was thinking outside the box and designing like the way the wipe happened, you know. And it's like that shows that someone like cares enough and didn't just throw like just student like projects on it. It was like he spent time just trying to even make this polished for showing to, you know, studios and stuff.
For like professional effects people, something that's good too is not just showing you're just doing shot work where like somebody else developed this effects and you're just running the shot work. It's nice to also see that you've done like rig developments for effects work and you're doing like research and development for that too.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, effect stuff, whoosh. All looks cool to me. I like it a lot.
How about story? That's probably a big one.
So story, we want to see, well, from just like there's like the logistic side of reels, like the setup of it and portfolios, and then there's like the what is actually on it, the content. But definitely want to be able to just click through your boards one at a time and see how that plays, so that basically you could see how it kind of cuts. So we hate the most, and like it's really hard to read, is either thumbnails or
Just like a whole page.
Yeah, a
of the
whole page of
boards.
just boards where it's just like you're just seeing like just these little tiny things, because it's really hard to see like how much you are actually like moving the character across the screen, and your cinematography really in it.
Also, we're like sitting in a room with like us and 3 to 4 other people on a screen. It's impossible for everybody to be on the same page with where everybody is in the board. So it's better to just have one image on the screen to click through, or an animatic that you just play, so that everybody can be on the same page with where they are in the story.
Yeah, and there's a lot of plugins now that you can use, like slideshow plugins. Basically, you can use just to upload all, whatever it is, 200 storyboards that you have, so that way when we're looking at it, we can just literally just click through every single one and just watch it kind
How many
of play in front of us.
story reels actually have people pitching the boards?
Not many. I've seen it, and it's fine.
done
like
well, it's
yeah,
good.
yeah. If it's done well, it's
It
fine.
just seems like it's such an important discipline to have as a storyboard artist that it seems crazy that you'd bring someone in and not know how they pitch.
Yeah, you can get that from a phone call and personality and interview.
Right.
If they're a full-time employee, you'll fly them in and actually interview them in person, and
Yeah.
you'll get some of that out of just meeting them in person. But yeah, pitching is definitely an important skill set to have. Usually, most professionals who have been in the industry long enough have at least part of that skill set down.
Which is crazy, because some of the best storyboard artists, when they pitch stuff, like they do all the sound effects and stuff too. Like they're like huge, big time, almost actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a skill, but I feel like all of our interns or trainees that have come in, like, that's a skill that they include in the learning and the curriculum. So, like, they teach them that, and, like, we even see improvements from it when they come in, and then at the end of the trainee program or internship, and how professional they've become with pitching. Or
Some
just
of
more
it is
confident.
confidence, in the person. But anyway, the other part of it is, again, like the difference between what we're looking for in feature and TV. TV tends to be a little bit more flat in terms of the cinematography. We're looking for boards of, really interesting camera angles and thought out plan of where the character's moving from one place to another. And being able to kind of really see that staging and that composition in boards. And also there's a level of draftsmanship that we're looking for in the boards that we're looking at. They could be a little bit looser in feature animation. Usually they're a little bit more tied down in TV. That's usually because TV studios, stories being done one place and they're shipping it off to be animated somewhere else, and so they tie their boards down a lot more than our boards tend to be tied down. We also sometimes have time to go back in and clean them up if we need to, for some reason. But it's really the staging and composition that's like a huge extra component to, like, just obviously just the storytelling part of it, the comedy, the action, and so being able to see like sequences where there's actually a start, a middle, and an end to it. It's not just like, just someone crossing a room. There's actually something happening in terms of it telling a story is also important.
And all with, like, in a minute at the most for one story idea.
Yeah.
Story artists have to come up with a lot of ideas throughout their day. So having somebody that can show that they have a lot of really interesting, innovative ideas in their portfolio. Sometimes you see extra ideas done in, like, the drawings or doodles that they're showing. Just little, like, moments that they're capturing, or ideas, little, like, vignettes that they're demonstrating. And that is a good way to demonstrate that you have tons of ideas, because chances are that you're going to throw out, like, 100 ideas in story, and, like, half of one will stick, maybe.
Yeah. And then sometimes with students, too, like, they get a chance towards, their junior year and senior year to actually create a short. And so having that as something where we may not want to watch the entire short, but at least even in storyboard form, watching a part of it helps to really see, like, how a person's thinking in terms of their full storytelling.
All right, let's just do at least one more, because it's whenever I go out to CTN with you guys or go down to Ringling, the the only other thing that I have to critique is the outside of animation, just because it's so overwhelming, the amount of people that give you stuff, is design work. Like that, you can't avoid going to CTN and not, or our school or whatever, and having someone saying, I want to be a character designer, or I want to be a designer. So what do you look for in those people?
Design's a really hard place to get into because it's super competitive. But for junior level design artists, what they want to see, especially for like the internship, is somebody who is focused in one area. So let's say you're a character designer or an environment designer or a color designer. Let's say about 70% of your portfolio is made up of that discipline. And then you should also show that you can do the other two areas too, because if you can get into a studio and show that you can be really valuable in all different areas, then that's just going to be good for you, and it's going to be really helpful for the studio too. So the other parts of your portfolio should demonstrate that you can, in some capacity, handle those other fields as well. And then,
like if you have a portfolio that's really like across the board good in all of those areas, then that's even
we'll
better.
Give you our email.
Because they do want well-rounded artists in design, but usually coming out of school, like it's hard to kind of be well-rounded in all of that, especially like all three of those, where sometimes it's like someone's good in color and environment, and then sometimes people are good in character and color, so it's, I don't know, it's rare that someone's going to be all really great in all three, but if they can be, then that's again, like that's that portfolio that sticks out above the rest, is where like you're really seeing all three disciplines stand out within the one discipline.
And in your portfolio, your work should demonstrate that you have really strong, like, fundamentals of art. You don't have to show a color wheel for us to know this. You just need to have really well done color keys or really well done designs to show that you know, like, anatomy, you know, color structure, you know, line quality. Those are things that'll all come through in your artwork.
Yeah, your draftsmanship. Being able to show, like we were just talking about this earlier, but, taking a story idea and showing that from, again, like you could, if you're good enough, show all three disciplines within that story idea. So you can show some character design, environment design, color. But then it's important to like show that as one thing in your portfolio, but then show like another story idea or something else that shows like a different style. So that way people are seeing that your draftsmanship's strong enough to kind of stretch over any sort of style, because obviously every film you work on is going to be different from a stylistic standpoint. So it's important to be able to show that you can go from super graphic to super wonky and, just kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
If you had every single person at Ringling and Cal Arts and everybody lined up that was about to hand you their character, that like they say they want to be a character designer, and they're about to hand you, like, or I guess if you could speak to all of them, is there anything you'd want to say to all of them?
Be authentic.
Because I feel like the character design, right? Like that's probably the hardest one to get into.
Well, character design is so competitive, and that's the thing, is like there's only so many jobs to be had in character design. And so that's why, like, especially coming in as a junior level person, like they want to be able to see that you can do environments. Like right now, even we have a intern that we're now moving into being a trainee. And that person's super strong in character, but we're bringing them back to do more trainee work just so that we can build up their environment and their colors that way, because we don't necessarily need them to do character all the time, because we have 5 or 6 other character designers that we work with. So basically just be open to not being just a character designer, I think is one of the most important things for...
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit like animators. If you come in as a junior, you're going to be animating rocks and vines and icebergs like I did, where you might be animating like shampoo bottles in the back. I mean, designing the shampoo bottles in the background.
Exactly.
Like the main characters.
Yeah.
I'd say also like authenticity is really important in design. You see so many like derivative designs out there, and it's so common that it's hard to find like really authentic voices out there, that it's like a character or an environment design that's something you've never seen before. And those are the artists that really stick out to our art directors, because Design's another area you're going to have to come in and have a lot of ideas. You're going to have to start with the world from scratch sometimes, like if you're working on a new movie. So somebody that has a lot of ideas, who can keep reiterating things too and has a good sense of space and design is going to stick out to the art directors a lot.
That was the last CTN I went to. Was it stood out for both of
discussed
us.
this many times.
It was just
before.
like, went there, and the first couple years I was like, wow, look at all this stuff. And then the last one I was like, everything has landed on one thing. It's all looking the same. So it's like, all right, somebody needs to stand out. Somebody needs to push this ship in a different way, because this is like, everything has the same brush from one artist. Everybody's using the same 3 brushes in Photoshop. Everybody's coloring everything with the same general like outlines. Like, all right, I'm done with this. Like, all right, it's cool that you can do it, but now it's showing that you can do your own thing.
It's frustrating too, because you can tell those people, like, if you look at their line quality or like the designs they're doing, like, they're really well done. You can tell they're like really good artists, but they just need to like have confidence or just like explore their own ideas a little bit more to find their own style. And I think like the thing that animation needs right now is just more authenticity for sure.
Yeah, I know it's tough because you don't want to say like completely like have your own style to where it's like you can't blend in and do the in-house style, like.
Yeah.
Right.
So you need to be able to blend and be able to do other people's stuff, but you want to be able to, like, I guess, like you said, the better word is just being authentic.
Yeah.
But if you're good enough, they'll make the house style look like you.
That's true. Like,
You'll be the house
name.
style.
The woman that did the designs for Paranorman. Do you remember her name? Anyways, her style is like completely unique. Like, like scratchy and it's not
very,
like it's not tied down real strong. But it's really fun too. Like it's definitely hers.
Yep, those are awesome character designs. That's it. No more questions on the Twitch stream. I feel like the stream was pretty successful though.
Yeah, it was fun to get some outside questions.
Yeah, way better than our dumbass questions.
Exactly.
No, your questions were great too.
Thanks, guys.
I did actually have more, but I feel like an hour and a half podcast this is our longest one in a year or so. So I think we got to cut it.
In a year? Oh my god.
Whoa.
Dang.
Well,
we
if
could
people
always
really like us, we
stop
can
there
always come
for
back.
dinner.
Yeah, we're so interesting.
You are interesting and awesome.
If you're still here, Extra Life Marathon NES Quest is where you'll find all the team players. You can find me under Jeff Gabor, Michael Berardini, Pete Paquette. We're all raising money for the Children's Miracle Network over the next month. The game time, I think Pete's around the 26th, 27th of October, and ours is the 3rd of November. We'll be playing games for 24 hours straight and doing it on stream as well, so you can catch us there.
Don't forget to tweet at them about what the loser will have to do for
That's right.
the money.
Come up with our punishment.
Great. Let's pimp Mindy's Instagram.
Yeah.
At Stitchy Mindy. A lot of really great embroidery work. That's awesome.
It is good. You can find Deb Stone
On the internet.
Wherever.
On LinkedIn.
LinkedIn,
there you go.
Instagram.
I found her on Twitter.
I'm on Twitter. I don't really
Not
use.
Instagram. There's just pictures of her.
Yeah, I know. That's not really for public use.
Yeah.
Should I give out your home address?
It's a funny address.
I am on Twitter. I don't really use it. So, if LinkedIn. LinkedIn's probably the best place to find me. At
Okay.
Deb Stone on LinkedIn.
If you're at CTN this year and you listen to this podcast, come up and give us the secret handshake.
Yeah.
Which is this.
Yeah. Oh, you want to do it real quick?
Or me.
On stream?
Oh, I don't like that.
Sorry, no. I mean,
We'll have to Purell after that one a lot.
do you watch Community?
This
No.
is the secret
Okay.
handshake right now.
Put your hands out
Okay.
like this. No, stop. Don't grab.
Nice and awkward.
We gotta do it at the same time.
Oh. What? Oh.
You're so bad.
Do one more. I got it. 1, 2, 3.
All right.
It'll go just as well at CTN for sure.
Yeah.
Or just say hi to them. Either way.
All right. Well, this has been Just a Few More Minutes podcast where three veterans of the animation and video game industry talk about exactly that. Animation, video games.
Not really video games
Plus 2
anymore.
extra veterans.
Yeah, they're right. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Good night.
Good
Good night.
Good night.